Welcome back to the Cutaway scene where the conversation stays uncut, unfiltered, and direct. Listen, this week we are talking about comfort, and I'm pretty much talking about the type of comfort that you stay in because it works enough. Not because it's good, not because it's right, just because it hasn't completely fallen apart yet. Okay, because comfort doesn't always crash. Sometimes it just stopped doing what it used to do. And instead of leaving, you start adjusting to it. Let's talk about it. So, earlier this week, we had asked y'all, which loss feels worse? Is it time or is it control? Now, everybody was on the same page, okay? We had 100% saying time, okay? And I understood that because once time is gone, it's gone. There's no redo, there's no getting it back, none of that, okay? But on another note, okay, we have losing control. Hey, that feels scary, okay? Because it feels like things could spiral real quick, okay? Because when comfort stops working, you don't lose everything at once. You usually lose time first, quietly, right? And then when things finally shift, it feels like you lost control all at once. That's usually how it goes. Let's get into some hot takes. So this week, hot take was, when does control become the problem? Some of y'all were saying control becomes the problem when it's really just a way to avoid making a move, okay? Others were saying when control turns into something, it turns into overthinking everything instead of actually doing something. Okay, I feel that. Someone said control feels safe until you realize you're stuck trying to manage something that doesn't even fit you anymore. I felt that. Okay. All right. So someone else has said, ooh, girl, probably when one party starts obsessing, in caps. Addressing it early is important. Listen, my hot take on that is yes, obsession is real. Okay. Because, first of all, chill. Okay. I feel like if a person is obsessive to another person, they just got too much time on their hands, okay? Because, listen, I'm just being real. I'm just saying, because if you really have stuff to do, you're not bothered, you're unbothered, you're this and that, you're not obsessed or whatever, you wouldn't have enough time. People would not be living rent-free in your head. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just being real here. But yes, addressing it early is necessary, because if you don't, you're going to have a bigger problem to address later. So you rather address this small little problem before you just let it get bigger and let it simmer. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, at the end of the day, like, they gonna come back to collect. That BS is gonna come back to collect. Like, you entertain it, it's gonna come back to collect, okay? Anyways, thank you for sending that in, because I feel like we do need to normalize not enabling such behavior, okay? Because control doesn't always look toxic, okay? Sometimes it looks responsible. Sometimes it looks like, I just want to make sure everything is straight, right? But at some point, control stops helping and starts holding you in place. And that's when it becomes the issue. Let's get into some hypotheticals. All right, so scenario 1, you keep telling yourself this is temporary. Okay, temporary job, routine, season. But you never set an end date. Okay, so temporary it turns into familiar. Familiar turns into normal. Normal turns into years. And nothing dramatic happened. You just underestimated how fast time moves. And when you're not intentionally moving with it, okay? That's how comfort quietly collects payment, okay? My hot take on that is that I feel like some people, they sometimes feel like they have to be completely ready to start something. But sometimes the only time you can really be fully ready is when you actually start, okay? Start that job. Hey, start that endeavor. Start that new business, that new love. Slide in that DM. Shoot your shot. Hey, you only live once. What's the worst that could happen? Hey, just do it, right? I feel like sometimes we let time pass because we wait, okay? And sometimes we just gotta tell ourselves it's now or never. All right, scenario 2. You say you just like things a certain way. You like clarity, you like structure. You like knowing what's going to happen. So you start monitoring everything. I'm talking about conversations, responses, timing, outcomes, right? If something feels off, you try to correct it. If someone moves differently, you question it. If the plan shifts, you panic. And slowly control stops being about stability. It starts being about fear. Now the real question is, are you leading the situation, or are you trying to control it so tightly that nothing can grow naturally? Because control becomes the problem when it leaves no room for change. And when there's no room for change, hey, there's no room for progress either. All right? But listen, real talk. Comfort always costs something, okay? It might not cost you right away, but eventually it collects. Sometimes it takes your time slowly. Sometimes it takes your control all at once. And the tricky part is you don't notice it while it's happening. Ain't that something? You just wake up one day and you just realize you've been kind of putting effort into maintaining something instead of building something better. But that's not failure, okay? That's just something people don't talk about enough, okay? So yeah, that was this week's conversation. Comfort works until it doesn't, okay? And when it stops working, you don't get to avoid the cost, okay? You just get to decide how long you're willing to keep paying it. But anyways, thank you for everyone who voted this week, replied, really sad with this one, because I know this one was a something. Anyways, follow the Cutaway Scene on Instagram, okay? Subscribe on YouTube so you do not miss what's happening next, okay? But anyways, that's a wrap, and this is the Cutaway Scene. Bye!